This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Did your school ever have a terrible mascot or logo? Because a lot of high schools just steal logos and change the colors or just make something terrible. So I got some high school logos that aren't that great and I'm gonna fix them up a little bit. Starting off with
Del Valle.
Yeah, and their mascot is a cardinal, and I do like what they did with the D and V, so I'm gonna try to keep that and then just shape up the cardinal to be more natural. So first I used the pen tool to retrace the cardinal, but made it a bit different and then erased this part at the bottom. Next I'll make the beak by just tracing the old logo and then making it more pointy. I remade the eye and moved it a little bit, but then I colored in the back with red and left a spot for the D and V, which I created using the pen tool. But when I finished drawing the D, I decided to make it a little bit darker red and make the rest of the bird a lighter red. I also took out this feather because I thought it looked weird, but then I made the V shape with the pen tool and took out the middle part. I added a black stroke on the outside and made this part a little more pointy. I used the brush tool to make a mouth on the beak and finally made it a little less wide, so here's the new logo. I also made these images that could be the school or something, but next we're gonna fix this, which is basically a cheap copy of the Seattle Seahawks, which is where I live, so I gotta respect this, but it does need to be fixed a little bit. So first I'll trace over the logo with the pen tool, but make the tail more pointy, and next I'll take some inspiration from the
Del Valle
logo, and instead of this shape, I'm gonna make it a C for Charlotte. I recreated the white part, but made it a little more sharp. I also recreated the beak and eyes, because those honestly look pretty good, probably because they stole it from Seattle, but I'm gonna make the bottom half gray and then make the top of the beak more round and also make the top of the head more rounded as well. And since we're making things round, I made the bird a little thick and then added an orange stroke on the outside, so here's the finished logo. Charlotte also has a secondary logo, and I wanted to see what our new logo would look like with this C, so I recreated it with the pen tool, and then I put the backside of it behind the hawk. This next logo for a high school in Bondurant, Iowa is interesting. And look, I bet the designer did their best, but let's be real, if they had Skillshare, this would have turned out way better. And speaking of that, Skillshare happens to be this video's sponsor. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives like you and I, packed with thousands of classes taught by industry experts in design, music, art, all the way to floral arrangement. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Personally, I'm interested in a few classes to help me level up in Photoshop so I can make my videos even better, and Skillshare is the perfect platform to do that, with entire learning paths like this one with 3 different classes to teach me more high-level skills to make my designs look even better than before. And if you're just getting started with Photoshop, I recommend this class by Kara, which will teach you everything you need to know to get started. But Skillshare isn't just about watching videos, you actually get to create projects as you go, so instead of just learning cool stuff, you actually get to make cool stuff too. With on-demand, stackable lessons, you can learn at your own pace, whether you're just starting out or already a level 99 boss. And it's not just for design, because there's classes on pretty much anything creative like photography, animation, marketing, and even content creation from people you might even recognize. So if you want to learn new skills and get better in whatever you're interested in, Skillshare is where it's at. Not only that, but the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a full month free trial of Skillshare. So if you want to give it a shot, now is the perfect time. And huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now let's start fixing this logo. So I started by making an artboard with a bunch of Blue Jay logos and also the Arizona Cardinal logo. But then I used the pen tool to make a shape that looks like a bird, but stopped halfway through and made a new shape for the bottom and made it a little bit taller. And after I added an outline, I made the shape of an open mouth that looks kind of mad and then put a gray beak behind that. I also made an eye shape and then some white feathers at the front like Blue Jays have. But I wanted to do something with the hair on the top similar to this logo, so I made a sharp feather at the top in light blue, and then made some wavy feathers in a different blue color. I put an outline on the mouth, beak, and white feathers, which I adjusted a little bit before also adjusting the size. And after that, I added an eyeball and cut the top half off, and then added some black near the tip with some light blue. Next, I basically just went around and adjusted the feathers a little bit, and finally added some shadows on the white feathers and on the beak. So here's the finished logo. I also took this picture of this cool looking teacher or coach and changed all the logos, so that's what this looks like. And I also wanted to see what it would look like on a football helmet, but I couldn't really find a good picture of them that I could replace, so I just had to remake the logo that's on their helmet. But before I can add that, I have to make the face mask on this helmet blue because that's what the school's looks like. So I used the pen tool to go around the entire face mask and make a shape. And once I was done, I made it blue and then made it look less plastic by using Blend If. And if you didn't notice, I added the logo, so I warped it to fit the shape of the helmet and once again used Blend If to bring back the reflections. And then I erased the part on the strap. I also added a little shadow below it, but after that I basically did the same thing with the new logo. So here's the comparison. Moving on, the next logo we're going to fix up is from a private school called Bishop Gorman High School, which is in Las Vegas, and it opened in 1954. And this logo was originally created for the Green Bay Packers in 1959 and was added to the helmets in 1961, and then 3 years later the Georgia Bulldogs decided to steal it. Well, no, they actually did get permission to use it, as well as Grambling State University, but I don't really know if this school did. So let's help save them from a lawsuit. The team is called the Bishop Gorman Gales, and if you don't know what a Gale is, neither did I. So I looked it up, and the term refers to the ethnic and cultural group that historically spoke Gaelic languages and played a significant role in shaping the history, traditions, and identity of these regions. Which kind of makes sense because it's a Roman Catholic school, but let's just fix the logo. So first I made an oval and then another one behind it to the left and two more in the middle. And if you don't know what I'm making, it's supposed to be a shield, but to make that a little more obvious, I added some depth. Then I added that G from the original logo in the middle of the white part, and then added some screws on the outside like some shields have, and then added some scratches. Next, I created a skinny rectangle with a feather shape at the end and put some cuts in it, which is supposed to be an arrow, so I put it in the shield and added some tiny cracks. This logo is probably my least favorite, but it still looks cool on this banner, but let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. The final high school logo I'm going to fix is coming from a school called David W. Carter High School, which is kind of a lot for a high school name, and I guess the designers took that into consideration when making the logo because this logo has way too many things in it. The school's mascot is a cowboy, so I feel like we really don't need any of this, but I think they might have been onto something, and by that I mean they were probably on something. But I do like this circle, so I made a similar copy of that as well as this C logo, and then I drew a cowboy hat on top of the circle. Then added a stroke and some extra black lines, and finally added a white stripe. So here is the new logo. Thanks for watching, and let me know which logo is your favorite in the comments.